Greetings, friends. My name is David McLeod, and I am your life mastery coach and best-selling lead author of the brand new book, Gifts of Wisdom, Practices for Healing and Empowerment, which is now available for sale on Amazon at the link below. Welcome to my chapter reading series for this book, in which you get to meet each author and listen in during a personal reading of that person's entire chapter from this wonderful and amazing little book. Today, my guest is Laura DeFranco, contributor of Chapter 15. Laura DeFranco is the founder and CEO of Brave Healer Productions, our publisher, by the way, an award-winning publisher for health, wellness, and business professionals. The publishing house includes Brave Kids Books and Brave Business Books and specializes in expert book collaborations. And they've already clocked up, I think, over 80 best-selling books. Awesome. Welcome, Laura, and thank you for joining me today.
Awesome, David. Thank you for having me. This is getting exciting. I love this book.
Yeah, well, thank you. And, as you've probably experienced many times, but I experienced in this particular book, sometimes we have glitches as we're proceeding and, things happen, people's lives shift and change and all kinds of decisions get made. And so an opening kind of happened for you, but I know that's not the real reason you stepped up. Tell us a little bit about what was it about this book that attracted you, that inspired you, that brought you into the fold?
When we talked about gifts of wisdom and what we were really doing in this book, the gift we're giving our readers of nuggets that could come from a whole lifetime's worth of living and experiences. I got excited just about the topic, about some of the things that have really changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, yeah, me. I got something to talk about, right? So, and I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, well, Laura, I love you. You know that we've been friends for a long time. We participated in many book collaborations, and part of the reason that I decided to do this with you is because of how well cared for I know I was, and I believe all of us are whenever we work on a project with you. So I want to say thank you for not only supporting the physical publication of the book, but also bringing your own heart and soul into the chapters. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure, David. It's been an amazing journey. This book is just incredible. Taking things to another level because of who you are as well. So I think we make a pretty dynamic duo for this book.
Yeah, I can't agree more than that, for sure. So tell us a little bit about your chapter and what came forth for you. You don't have to talk about the details of the chapter right now, but tell us a little bit about your process in putting this chapter together.
I had been inspired by seeing Esther Hicks in person, and it was before the invitation came. So I had been really fired up about a few things that she said, specifically one of the quotes that you'll actually hear me say in the beginning of the chapter here. And a little light bulb kind of went off about taking things personally in life from other people. It's an awareness practice for me, and that is big potato stuff in my life.
Mhm.
It has transformed my life. So that's where some of the inspiration came as I started to write the chapter.
Beautiful. Well, I guess it's just time for us to dive in. So, folks, I'm going to ask you now to just kind of put everything down, turn off your phones, pay attention, and listen in with your heart and soul as Laura DeFranco reads her chapter 15. It's not personal. How to shift shame into confidence.
Shame is Ridiculous by Esther Hicks. My story. Two powerful ideas helped me address the feeling of shame. One is that shame disappears when you call it out. You just have to be brave enough to get those words out loud. The other was the day I sat in the audience and listened to Esther's explanation of the three words in that quote. That day, sitting with two wonderful friends in the audience of that presentation, I was able to take radical responsibility for connecting to my bigger self, my essence, that part of me that is pure love. One of the huge gifts of wisdom that day was this: I decided not to take anything anyone says or does personally ever again. Thank you, universe. Freedom dropped in like a cool breeze. I felt like I had the secret treasure map to a life of joy. Ask any psychologist. These aren't easy pursuits that I've declared for myself, but I love to ask these two powerful questions when life gets a bit hairy. What if it were easy? What else is possible? As a lifelong learner, healer, and student of all things wild, crazy, and spiritual, I bask in new golden nuggets of awareness. With awareness, you have a choice, has been my go-to quote most days. And it reminds me there's never a time, if I'm paying attention, that I don't have a choice in life. I learned the trick is to respond, not react to events and moments. This requires a keen awareness of thoughts, words, and behaviors, and the courage to change them when necessary. Enter the worst triggers ever. You know, those kinds that hook you into a chaotic pit of hell where you can't seem to stop perseverating on the nastiness. I wonder if you, like me, share the one where when I think I've done something wrong, or worse, something that's made someone dislike me, I cower into a messy puddle of low self-esteem and desperation and watch as the please like me behaviors start to happen without me feeling in control. Oh God, I feel sorry for that little girl right now. I love you, little warrior. Recovering good girl here. I know I'm not alone. Many of us spent our entire upbringing being taught what to say and how to behave to ensure we were being good. This, of course, was based on our parents, teachers, mentors, and friends' versions of what was good behavior. It was confusing a lot of the time. Quiet, shy, self-conscious, and afraid to speak was how I ended up most days in childhood. Later in life, every time I made a goof, mistake, or did something not quite perfect or acceptable, the feeling inside my body was so intensely visceral, it felt like I'd die of shame. How did those triggers get so intense? The answer is complicated for most of us. I won't go into the hundreds of amazing healing modalities available to help heal that ingrained and many times subconscious crap right now. But I'll tell you, there are some magical mind, body, soul processes that greatly helped me reduce the not normal reactions I experienced for decades. My 30-year career in holistic physical therapy gave me many gifts, but the most important was the knowledge of the breadth and of alternative and holistic options I had when it came to feeling awesome and loving my life. Boy, did I dabble. I still do. Nowadays, it's so nice to be able to observe a reaction happening inside me and then pause with a gigantic deep breath and choose something more healthy. That's a ninja move of awareness. It starts with feeling your body. There were 20 of us in the kinesiology class at San Francisco State University. We gathered and huddled around the KinCom machine and listened as our professor shared about what it did. You can measure the strength output of a muscle, he said, as he got his volunteer student up onto the chair and positioned to test his quadriceps muscle. I looked down at the base of the KinCom, a machine we had in a clinic where I regularly volunteered, and noticed the lock mechanism was loose. So, helpful person that I am, I walked over and stepped my foot down on the pedal to lock it. Only it was already locked, and I unknowingly unlocked it, causing the 1-ton machine to slide a few inches on the floor. "Stop! What are you doing?" the instructor shouted, turning toward me and rushing over to lock it again. You guys, it was like my parents had caught me with my boyfriend having sex for the first time. I instantly shriveled. My face flushed, and the wave of nausea was so intense, I slowly backed myself toward the door of the small classroom and slipped out unnoticed. I turned my back to the cool white tile wall of the hallway and slowly slid down to the floor, putting my head in my hands until the nausea passed. Have you ever noticed how shame feels in your body? Maybe not, because our first inclination is to shove it down, ignore it, or cover it up with something else as quickly as possible. I'm pretty sure I managed to press that feeling into some tiny crevice in my gut so tightly it took decades to find its way to the surface and release. If the professor responded differently, maybe with a chuckle and a, "Oh, no worries, I already locked it, let's just lock it again," I would have been good to go. Instead, I carried that shame well into adulthood. But what the heck with that abnormal reaction? What memories do you have that bring up a similar feeling? What are you making certain moments of your life mean? Do you still feel that feeling in your body even though there's no reason to? My professor's reaction wasn't personal. It wasn't directed at me as a bad person. But when I heard the words and let that shock of the mistake I'd made, coupled with his intense shouting in, I was caught before I could practice the awareness I needed to create a different moment inside of me. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. They're all looking at me. I won't be able to show my face in class again. Maybe it's not too late for me to switch classes. The truth is, everyone else was focused on the kincom afterward, and nobody even noticed me leave or thought about it for another second. Triggers happen in small, medium, and large ways throughout our lives. I often wonder what other kind of energy is lurking inside, waiting to be released from an old wound. Another trigger I experienced was much harder to heal when it manifested after words were directed purposefully at me. This is another kind of challenge. This is your fault. 4 little words. I got in the car after this very intense conversation and burst into tears. Of course, this isn't your fault. My inner wisdom tried to console me. He's upset. He feels helpless. He has to blame you to feel better about it. I listened, but it wasn't working. The knot in my throat choked me, and I called a friend to help me move through it. Maybe it is my fault, I sobbed. Remember, this isn't personal. He's reacting from his own filters. Everyone has lived a unique life from which they're reacting or responding to the moment. This isn't personal. Remember that. She was a wise soul. I listened, and my heart softened a bit. My crying stopped, and I felt a surge of power inside. I took a bit of my power back in a few deep breaths. Nobody can make you feel any particular way, she continued. Stay in your power. You know what you know. You know your truth, and that is enough. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to justify anything, and you don't need to apologize for anything. This wasn't your fault. My inhale felt bigger than usual, like I'd forgotten to breathe for a few minutes and remembered again. I hung up and made the rest of the drive home with a bit less ruminating and more focused on power mantras that would help me shift my energy. I love you, Laura. You're a good person and a great mom. You're one of the strongest people I know. You're a beautiful, compassionate, caring badass. Sometimes your call a friend option is really important. When you're in the middle of a trigger, and the feeling catches you by surprise, you may find yourself falling into a pit of fear, despair, or darkness. The shame pulls you into yourself, and you watch as your body tries to get smaller, invisible. You're vulnerable, and in that state, it's hard to function normally. It's very hard to remember who you are. I probably shouldn't have gotten in the car so fast. But calling a friend is a ninja move. It takes guts to reach out for help. So is telling yourself, I love you, when you feel like dying from shame. Self-forgiveness is probably one of the most powerful forms of self-love there is. Also, a ninja move. After that happened, I noticed how quickly I was able to recover. I was curious. Maybe if we practice enough, we don't have to stay stuck or triggered for long at all. I wondered this, but at the same time, knew it to be true. This can be instant. Your process can be quick as long as you're willing to pause, notice, breathe, feel, and then remember who you are. I spent the rest of the drive practicing those steps. And by the time I was home, I felt back to normal, ready to take on my next moment, present, grounded, and centered in my power. The power of presence and the ability to stay in your body as the triggers happen is life-changing. It might even be the difference between a mediocre life and one filled with joy beyond your wildest dreams. How about we practice together? The practice. Simple body awareness to shift shame. If I were to try to sum up the ultimate ninja move of awareness for you related to this topic of feeling triggered, I'd say it's a 5-part process. 1, notice. 2, breathe. 3, feel. 4, clear your mind. 5, remember who you are. Since this exercise only works in the middle of a trigger moment, I'll spell out the steps, then it's up to you to practice pausing in the moment to catch yourself so you can put the steps into play. The ninja levels of awareness happen when all 5 steps happen almost simultaneously, and the shift occurs in seconds. And that, my friends, will be a palpable freedom for your life. 1, notice. The very first step is noticing that you're triggered. Will you look at that? I'm in a bit of a state, aren't I? I really do try to keep it light when I'm talking to myself these days. Practice noticing. It will get easier and faster. That's interesting. I'm feeling so triggered right now. Be curious. Curiosity is an awareness superpower. 2, breathe. In almost the same moment that you notice you're triggered, take a deep breath and keep taking deep breaths. If you begin to hold your breath, just move into the next deep, rib expanding breath and carry on. Breath work is an instant energy shifter, and it will help you stay in your body while you practice the rest of the steps. 3, feel. This may be the hard step. This isn't a technique where you hide, stuff, or ignore the feeling that your body is experiencing with the mental or emotional trigger. Triggers are mind-body. You won't heal it until you feel it. Notice, breathe, and feel. Where is the sensation in your body? What's happening? Breathe into that feeling and just be curious. Allow, accept, be gentle with yourself. 4, clear your mind. Just like step 1 and 2 go together, So do 3 and 4. As soon as you begin to allow yourself to feel your body and also clear your mind of anything you're making the feeling mean, notice the thoughts like they are boats floating down a river and you're on the bank watching them go by. Don't attach to them. Don't hop on to any boats. Keep breathing. Keep noticing. Keep feeling and clear your mind. Notice one thought and then go back to noticing the sensations in your body and breathing through them and into them. 5, remember who you are. This is the part when you've not only realized what's happening and created peace and calm within by breathing, feeling, and clearing your mind, but you add a little confident badassery. You are love, plain and simple. And love is the most powerful force in the universe. Remember who you are. Remember your mission. Beam love back into yourself, through your heart, and back out into the universe. Allow other feelings and high vibe energies like gratitude, joy, peace, or compassion to be the focus as you move from triggered to powerful and go about your purposeful day. You might try saying a power mantra out loud to amplify the moment. I love you. You're a badass. My awareness practice has saved my life so many times. It's what keeps me healthy, joyful, hopeful, passionate, purposeful, and intentional about my life, even during the most challenging moments. I combine awareness with journaling to create a superpowered practice that heals whenever I need it. For those of you wanting the next level step, grab your notebook and pen. Set a timer for 5 minutes and write as fast as you can without censoring yourself. Fill in the blank. I know who I am. I am. And what matters right now is. And if you're feeling brave, email your writing to me at support@lauradefranco.com. Let me be a witness to the magnificent, wise, beautiful soul you are. I write to feng shui my soul. I share to remember who I am and inspire you to be brave. The biggest gift you give yourself is to remember that all the wisdom you ever need is sitting inside you. Remember to breathe and feel. Connect to that inner warrior.
I love you. You're a badass.
Right?
I love it. That's great. Well, and another thing that I really liked is your metaphor of thoughts as boats. Now, I usually talk about them as clouds in the sky, but I love that because you're right. You can jump on a boat and then you're basically engaged with that thought until the boat docks somewhere. That's a great metaphor. I really liked it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's helped me make space. And
Right.
anything that can help me make space is the awareness that we need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, your story and my story are so similar in so many ways. I think many people go through the kind of conditioning experiences that you described, where we are lovingly shaped into the mold of our parents and our teachers and all the other adults who know so much more than we do, in our lives. Now, in my case, when I was shamed, I didn't tend to shut down too much. Instead, I exploded out. So my reaction was quite different from you. And the reason I'm saying that is because although we have many, many, many things in common, I'm not just you and me, but all people. we also have different ways of dealing with our problems, and no one way is better or worse than any other. You know, I think what we're trying to share here in this book is there are many different perspectives, many different experiences, and many different ways of responding and growing with respect to those experiences. We each of us has to choose the path that's right for us. I think that's the main message of this book.
For sure. It is why I love them so much, because we need all our authors' unique ways of expressing, so we can
Right.
help as many people as possible who are each going to hear it the way they need to.
Yep. And yeah, I've just been so amazed. I've had this really good fortune of being able to listen to every author so far read his or her chapter. And you know, when I hear the words coming from the person directly rather than from the page that I'm reading, there's a whole different level of energy that comes out. And I hear things sometimes that I just hadn't heard necessarily when I was reading the chapter in its physical form. So this is a beautiful way, I think, of sharing the message. So I want to thank you for participating in that.
Of course, it is so powerful to hear the words, and thank you for inviting me to do it.
Yeah. Well, friends, there you go. Another absolutely fantastic chapter reading from another fantastic author. I'm so delighted that you were able to be here and listen to this. And if you haven't already purchased a copy of the book, or if you'd like to consider giving a book to a friend, maybe something you heard is going to be valuable to a friend, get a book for that person, or maybe someone in your family could benefit from this. Please just check out that link on the page below and just go and check out our Amazon book page. Also, if you'd like to connect with Laura DeFranco directly, please reach out to her on her website at https://bravehealer.com. That link is also on the screen below. So you can, check it out, get to meet all the authors. It's just a fantastic opportunity. Thank you for stopping by. I hope to see you again for all the rest of our chapter readings. Love, light, and blessings to you on your continuing journey. Bye-bye for now.